Hey everyone, Chris here from IELTSadvantage.com, and in this video we're going to look at IELTS Writing Task 1, and we're specifically going to look at the academic module. So if you're doing general training, this video isn't for you. I'll do another video for general training. Go and have a look at IELTSadvantage.com and you'll find lots of general training materials there. Now, you academic guys, a lot of you are not getting the score that you need. Most of you, the people that I deal with, need a band 7 or above. And if you ask a lot of IELTS examiners, IELTS teachers, one of the main reasons why students are not getting a band 7 or a band 8 overall, it's normally to do with writing, but specifically it has to do with task 1. So students are a bit obsessed with task 2. There's a big, what I call task 2 bias. A lot of you spend a lot of time on task 2, both preparing for it and in the real exam. I'm not saying task 2 is not important, but task 1 is very, very, very significant. It is worth 1/3 of your overall marks, and 1/3 doesn't sound like much, but it really does make a huge difference to your overall score. Imagine if I took 1/3 of the money that you have right now in your bank account. It's pretty significant when you think about it that way, or you look at the effect that 1/3 of your marks has on your overall marks. It is a really, really significant chunk of your marks. And what I see is students focusing a little bit too much on task 2 and not enough on task 1. So what we're going to look at in this video are the 7 main reasons why I see students getting a band 6 or 6.5 when they're hoping to get a band 7 or above. So I mark task 1 academic tasks every single day, and these are kind of the top 7. So you might have all 7, that's rare, but I guarantee that if you're getting a band 6 or 6.5 and hoping to get a band 7, you're doing at least a few of these. A few of these are a problem. So the number one thing I'd say is just confusion about what to do. Students, when they come to me and I find out through asking them questions, they are completely confused about what to do. They have no idea about what to do, and that's not their fault. The reason why that is there's so much, first of all, conflicting information in books and online. Even some books from like reputable publishers are giving very, very conflicting advice about what to do and what not to do. So it's not really the student's fault, because the material that they're dealing with is very, very confusing. The second reason is that there's a huge number of fake task 1 questions out there. So Cambridge produced the real questions. If you see any questions by Cambridge, IDP, British Council, IELTS.org, those are real questions and they're fine to use. If you see questions, task 1 academic questions from other sites, 99% sure that they're fake questions, and most of the time they have been produced by people who don't really know what to do. So every day my students come to me and they show me a fake task 1 question, and they're like, I have no idea what to do here. And I was like, don't worry, you're never going to get a question like that on the real test. If you look at the real questions created by Cambridge, they're not as difficult as all these fake questions. So be very careful about finding a source of questions that are reliable and finding a source of information that is reliable first. So again, not really the student's fault. It's really the fault of all these websites that purport to be IELTS experts when they're anything but. Number 2, failure to write a clear overview. So I was in a workshop a couple of years ago where there were IELTS examiners teaching other teachers at the British Council, and we were talking about the main reason why students get below a 7 from what they actually put on the paper, and they all said lack of a clear overview. That was probably the main consensus on what was the main problem, the main reason why students fail to get a 7 or above. And one of the reasons are students are obsessed with structure, alright? So every time you talk to a student that does really, really well on task 1, they'll say, yeah, I followed a really clear structure and that's why my overview was good. If you talk to a student who failed to get the score that they need, they'll normally say something like, yeah, I don't believe that my structure was good enough. Structure doesn't really matter for the overview. As long as you have one paragraph that is very clear and is showing the key features, that is your overview, that's the only thing you need to worry about in terms of structure. The other thing that I see is students are obsessed with Is it a conclusion or is it an overview? And where do you put it? Do you put it at the end of your task one, or do you put it, after the introduction? Again, it doesn't really matter. The most important thing is that you have a clear overview. So it is a separate paragraph and it is showing the key features. Whether you call it a conclusion, I don't call it a conclusion, and I'm not going to get into that because I could be, debating all day whether it's a conclusion or overview. Whether it's called a conclusion or whether it's called an overview doesn't really matter. What matters is, can you identify the key features and include them in a clear overview? That's the only thing that you need to worry about. And students really don't know a lot about how to do that. I don't have time in this video. I think in my online course I spend like 6 hours talking about this, and we need to show you lots of different diagrams and different sources of information to show you how to do that. But what I'll say is a lot of students need to work on that. I'll put a link below to a lot of free resources I have on how to write a clear overview and how to pick out key features. I'll put it below this video if you're watching on YouTube. So number 3, selection of data. So you've picked out your key features, you have put them in a clear overview. Now you need to start writing about the actual data that you see, or if it's a map or if it's a process, it's going to be slightly different. But you have to pick out the data points and write about them. What I see a lot is students including too much data or not really knowing what to leave out and what to include. So the question says to summarize the key features. It does not say include absolutely everything. If you included absolutely everything, you would write like 500 or 600 words or something like that. You only have to write over 150 words, between 150 and 200, something like that for task one. It will differ from question to question. But really what I see is students either including data that's just not relevant to the question or data that is inaccurate. So it is a really easy mistake to make because you're under so much pressure to write the wrong data in and the data to be inaccurate. So you must practice, and we're going to talk about that later on, including the correct data and making sure that it is accurate. The other thing is I see students not organizing the data very well. Think of the reader. Think of the person reading your task one. Think about what they have to do. They have to understand what you're talking about or what you're writing about. If you include data in a very strange way that doesn't really make sense, you're making it difficult for the reader to understand. That's a bad thing. But if you think about what is the way that I can organize this data so that it is easy for the examiner, easy for the reader to understand, it's all set out in a logical way, then that is going to be an excellent thing to read, and it's going to help you get the score that you need by organizing your data logically. Number 4, grammatical errors. So 25% of your mark is going to be for grammar, 25% of your mark is going to be for vocabulary. So half of your marks come down to these two, so extremely significant. What I see is mostly people making small grammatical errors, and this is stopping them getting a 7 or above. So nearly every sentence has some sort of grammatical error in it. Describing data, describing change, that's all you're doing. So learning the correct grammar structures, to do that would be a very, very good idea. To a lot of people, they're not used to describing data, describing change at all, never mind in a foreign language. So there are a number of grammar structures that you need to learn. I'll put the link below this video and you can check those out. Other thing that I see is students not knowing how to write about trends. You might have to write about a trend if you get a line graph over time, or you might have to make comparisons. So those are very distinct grammar structures. Comparisons, you have to learn how to use comparatives. So if you don't know how to use comparatives before your task one, learn them. Learn how to use them properly. Other thing, prepositions and articles. These are probably the two most common problems that I see. Prepositions, articles, punctuation. You might be, great at prepositions and articles. It might not apply to you, but what I see is most people, that it could be that they have a problem with articles or a problem with prepositions or a problem with punctuation. If you are aware of that problem, you have to fix that problem, because prepositions and articles, punctuation, they come up in every sentence. You're going to have to include them. So learning how to use them properly is really going to help boost your grammar scores, because you're not going to be making as many grammar errors. Other thing that I see is vocabulary. So students are a bit obsessed with range of vocabulary and not as obsessed with accuracy. Alright, so I see a lot of vocabulary errors, and some students in nearly every sentence they'll have some word that is wrong in some way. It could be a collocation error, a meaning error, something like that. Adverbs and adjectives used to describe data, used to describe change. Learn those. I'll put a link below the video and you can have a look at them. Do not think that all you have to do is learn a list of vocabulary or anything like that, but being aware of the different adverbs, adjectives, the different ways, the different collocations of describing data, of describing change, of making comparisons is really going to help you in the test. So check out the link below. It's all free, by the way. I'm not trying to sell you anything or anything like that. Number 6, timing. This is a huge thing. What I see is a lot of students do task 2 first, and they might spend 50 minutes on task 2, or they might spend 45 minutes on task 2. That's not really giving you enough time to finish task 1. It doesn't matter if you write an amazing task 2, like a band 8 task 2. If you don't finish task 1, or you only get 2 paragraphs done in task 1, you're not going to get the score that you need. So really managing your time properly and spending 40 minutes on task 2 and 20 minutes on task 1 is really going to help you out. So practicing that sort of timing issue is crucial. It is a real temptation in the test to try and write the perfect task 2, but it's going to get you in lots of trouble with task 1. So it's a real shame when somebody writes a great task 2 essay and then throws away with task 1. I mean, so many students come to me and I don't know how I got a 6.5. One of the first questions I asked them was, did you finish task 1? No, I only did it half. I only got 2 lines done. It's like, well, it's no mystery why you got 6.5 then. It is only a third, as I've said, of your marks, but that is really, really significant. Number 7, lack of effective practice. So there are many, many different things that you might have to do in task 1 academic. It could be a line graph, a bar chart, a table, a pie chart, a map. It could be a process diagram. It could be any combination. It could be like a multiple pie graphs plus a table. Hopefully you don't get something like that, but it does happen. So there are many different things that you have to practice. So what happens is students tend to focus just on, I'll do a few line graphs and a few bar charts. And then in the test, a map or a table comes up and they're like, I don't know what to do because they didn't practice it. So make sure you practice all of the different types of question for task 1 so that you're not shocked in the real test. So what happens is students open the paper, see something that they've never seen before, and they start to panic and they get stressed out, and you do not want that to happen in the test. Other thing that I see a lot of students do is they practice too quickly. By that I mean, so I would teach a student something like how to pick out the key features in an overview, and they'll go and do a practice test in 20 minutes and then they'll give it to me and they won't have done it properly. But like, oh my god, I don't know why this happened. Well, you were learning something new, so it was very new in your mind, and then you were trying to do it under exam conditions. Imagine if you were learning how to drive and in your first lesson the driving instructor told you to drive at 100 kilometers an hour. They just wouldn't do that. What you have to do is practice slow first. So when you're learning new techniques, new things, say that you're learning how to paraphrase, you would just focus on that and spend a lot of time doing that. If you were learning how to analyze graphs and charts and how to pick out key features, take as much time as you need and then build up to exam conditions. So what you're doing is, first of all, you're understanding, you're learning new skills, you're implementing the things that you have learned, and you're building up to like match practice. You're building up to, if I use the analogy of learning how to drive again, you're building up to getting on the motorway, getting on the freeway, and driving at normal speed, but you have to build up in that way. The other thing that I see a lot of students do before they come to me is they have no proper guidance from their teachers. If you are paying money to a school and you ask your teacher to look at your work and they refuse to do that, then you might not be at the correct school. A good teacher should be able to look at your work, tell you the things that are good about it, the things that are not so good about it, the things you need to work on. If you're paying money at a school, use that school, use the teacher. That's what you're paying your money for. So ask the teacher to help you out. Say, can you give me a question and I'll do it, and you check it out and give me a mark and tell me what's going wrong and what's going right. If they say no, maybe find a different school, all right? Most teachers, 90% of teachers will help you out. Use them, all right? A teacher is not going to maybe actively ask for more work, but if you ask them to help you out, they should be able to do that. So practicing and getting feedback from someone who knows what they're doing is really, really valuable. All right, so hope that you found that useful. Those are 7 reasons why you might not have got the score that you need yet, but I've helped thousands of students who have failed multiple times, and then they come to me and I show them the different things that are wrong, help them out, they work on it, they improve, and they get the score that they need. It is very, very possible. Don't lose hope that you can't get the score that you need. So if you're watching on Facebook, please feel free to share this video with whoever's doing the IELTS test that you know. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe, because we'll have more videos coming soon. Thank you very much, guys. All the links that I talked about are below the video. Thank you very much, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.